You know, Peter, all days are good, but some days are better than others because some days you have to decide which of the manual transmission, front engine, rear drive sports cars is more fun.
It's going to be difficult, isn't it?
It's going to be super hard.
And you know what's crazy about this is that we have two vehicles from Japan that have kind of the same idea of approach to driving, but one is very powerful and one is not so powerful, but I would say more agile, more suited for a real sports car experience.
That's true. And while it might look on the onset like we have a bit of a gray apple to an orange here, these cars are pretty familiar. So first of all, I'll introduce what I have, which is the 2023 Nissan Z. It's not the 400Z, it's officially just a Z, and it's all new. If you believe Nissan, because it's actually based on the 370Z, which is based on the 350Z,
right,
which is from 2003. Under hood, the big news is a 3-liter twin turbocharged 400 horsepower, 350 pound-feet of torque V6 mated to your choice of a 9-speed automatic, or in this case, a 6-speed manual. Tell me about the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown.
Well, this car is a 10th anniversary edition of the what is this thing called again?
The Toyota GR86.
Oh, right, because it used to be the Scion FRS and then a Toyota FRS. Now it's a GR86.
There's a Scion FRS, the Toyota FRS, the Toyota 86, now the Toyota GR86.
Oh, the GR86.
It's simple, people.
Yeah. Okay, under hood we have a 2.4 liter flat 4 naturally aspirated engine that makes 228 horsepower and a whopping 184 foot-pound of torque.
Spicy.
Spicy, yes. And you know, this is a Toyota, but actually it was developed by Subaru it came out 10 years ago. But nonetheless, it's a fantastic little sports car. It's lightweight, it's zippy, it's got a great little 6-speed. So we're gonna take these two sports cars and we're gonna drive them and see if this one is actually worth, how much more is this one worth?
That's the other thing we need to talk about is, yes, there is a price difference. Base to base, it's a $15,000 difference. This one is more expensive. As you see them, these are both basically their range topping models. The 10th anniversary for this one, the premium for this one, a $18,000 difference as you see them. So there is a price gap here, and a noticeable. We're talking about nearly $20,000.
We are.
But the really big debate here is which is the more satisfying sports car to drive for fun, and frankly, which one is better to live with every day? Which one of these could be your only car?
Right.
Peter, I'm raring to go. Which one do you want to start with?
Well, I'm going to start with this one because it's orange.
Sold. Let's go drive it.
Okay. Well, here we are in the 10th anniversary Toyota GR86. And I must say, I'm in my happy place right now.
You're in a small sports car with a manual transmission on a winding road, and there's nobody else here.
There's nobody else here, and this chassis is brilliant. This car actually feels very Porsche-like in the way it's intuitive and friendly, inspiring. You know exactly what's going on all the time.
You know, interestingly, the refreshed 86 has more torsional rigidity than the previous model, so you're feeling that tightness. And I would agree with you. I would say that in terms of pure chassis, it's probably the best chassis you can buy until you get up to a Porsche 718 of some kind.
Absolutely. You know, you might want to compare this to the Miata, but the Miata is great, but it's sort of like a 7/10 car. Like you really lean into it and it gets a little messy, whereas this one,
the harder you push, the better it feels.
The better it feels. It loves to be slid around. The pedals are set up perfectly for heel and toe downshifting.
This is one of those cars that you can get in it and immediately feel like you've owned it for years.
Yeah.
If everything in this car, the steering, the shifter, the pedals, all feels so natural.
Exactly.
It's a car that anyone could hop in and drive it smooth or fast if you wanted to. And I think this turn gives you a perfect chance to demonstrate that 2.4 liter engine.
And it's actually
228 horsepower.
It's fast-ish. We weren't even close to the speed limit there, really. But you're right, this car makes it feel like you're going faster than you are, which is the beauty of it. You don't have to go to jail to have some fun in this car.
Is it all roses, though? Or there's some things
it's not exactly all roses, because if you're actually going on a highway trip, for instance, this thing is very high-strung. The ride's choppy. Of course, it's a light sports car. But at 120 kilometers an hour, the engine's buzzing along at 3,200 RPM, which can get tiresome.
It can. It's a sports car all the time, which is kind of a blessing because it always feels special. But if you had to drive this thing all the way to Moncton, it would be a little grating
a bit much
after a while. But on these little turns, look at that, the fun you can have.
Oh, yeah, baby.
I would say too, if you've driven the previous 86, they fixed everything we didn't like about it with this new engine. The previous one, you would punch it at like 4,000 RPM and there was nothing there. But why don't you show us the mid-range punch this time, Peter?
Okay.
So 4,000 RPM, away we go.
We're actually getting some wheel spin there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't feel this car needs any more power. I think it's perfect.
No, the larger engine with the better torque in the mid-range is really all this car ever needed.
It's friggin' perfect. So Clayton, what makes this the 10th anniversary model? What's special about it?
Well, you can tell it's special because it says 10th anniversary on the doors and on the badge.
Yep.
And you get this orange stitching and solar orange paint.
Which I kind of really dig, actually.
Also comes with a catback exhaust, but primarily limited to 20 units. This is just an appearance package. The catback exhaust you could buy separately as a dealer option if you so chose.
We do get bespoke forged alloys with this thing.
That's true, and you couldn't get those anywhere else. However, it is a bit of a pricey option, costing some $9,000 over base.
Really?
Yes. So base price out the door for the the base model 86 with the manual, $33,350 in Canada. This one, as you see it, with everything we've got, the special edition is $41,900.
Right.
So it's a pretty big jump.
That's the most you can spend on a GR86.
That's true. It's literally the most money you can spend on one of these. The spec sheet's pretty simple.
I would argue that that's still money well spent.
Exactly.
Because you're going to have 1 of 20 in Canada. They're only making 806 of these things worldwide.
It's very rare. And it's the only way to get this. I would say too, this is an exclusive orange paint color.
It is.
But beyond the paint, I like things about this car inherently, no matter the trim level. For example, I think the driving position is just flawless.
Yeah, it is. It is. There's no more suspension tweaks other than the wheels. And
same brakes, same shocks.
And this comes with the, actually this does come with Michelin Pilot Sport 4s, which are fantastic tires. Very good tire. And they're not too wide. They're like 215s, which means you can kind of do a bit of that. And it'll kind of, step out a little bit, but it won't go crazy. And I love this car.
It is just one of those cars you don't want to stop driving.
Yes, but we do have to stop driving it because we have to go drive the Z or the Z, depending on where you live.
All right, so a very fun and spirited drive in the 86.
It was.
But now we should try it with 175 more horsepower. It's not a bad day.
No.
Well, Peter.
Yes, here we are.
I would say today we've covered sports cars from A to Z.
Oh, that's good.
You know what else is good?
What?
400 horsepower.
Yep.
Now watch the problem with 400 horsepower. On a straight road, you ready? Watch it, nothing happens. Whoa. So this is a lot more power. It's 400 horsepower.
It's a whole other league of horsepower.
350 pound-feet of torque.
Yes.
Of a 3-liter twin turbocharged V6.
But why does this car feel so terrifying?
I think it's a few reasons. First of all, sorry Bridgestone, I don't like the Potenza. It's not a great tire, despite the fact that there's a lot of it out there. I think it's a 275 out back.
Yes.
It's a lot of rear tire, and yet it seems pretty easily overwhelmed. It's also just the nature of this power delivery, whereas the 86 has a linear, naturally aspirated power band. This is a turbo power band, and a punchy one at that. It is assuredly more of a handful on anything but a straight line. In fact, it's a bit of a handful in a straight line.
Yeah. I mean, this chassis does not inspire confidence in me.
That is because it is as old as some of our reporters at this point. 2003, this chassis first debuted as the 350Z.
So this car could technically be celebrating its 20th anniversary. Parts of it.
In fact, parts of like this door handle, this plastic door handle, and the seat adjusters here are from the original 350Z from 2003.
Right.
But we shouldn't focus on the old.
No.
Focus on the new. For example, we have a turbo tachometer.
I've never even seen one of those before.
I know, it's a new one because most cars don't have one. That is because Nissan has a turbo speed sensor, which allows them to more accurately meter boost to this engine. Not that you would have any idea of that by the way it drives, because it certainly just feels like a boosty hammer hitting you in the back.
This is a car that you don't finesse.
No, in
You
fact,
actually have to kind of manhandle it, or just, you know, kind of back off, because I think it'll bite you. It'll
Let's
turn
try.
around and bite you.
wheel spin. It is scary. It's really fast.
It's just, yeah, it's fast, scary, but the scary part for me is just when you're cornering, because the chassis to me doesn't give you a lot of information. It doesn't respond to what you're doing, and you just kind of give the sense that I'm not sure what this car is up to.
Yeah, and I think that's partly because it weighs 720 pounds more than the 86. There's a lot more mass at play, and you're going faster, so the physics are more daring.
But then again, let's look at the good parts about this car, because, you know, if someone said, okay, you're going to drive to Montreal, which one would you take?
This car is definitely better when it gets to stretch its legs and not on these short, tiny, twisty little roads.
Yeah, it's got a better ride quality, it's quieter, and it's got a really good stereo system.
It's true, it's actually quieter in here, and the seats are more comfortable. I find them more comfortable. Also, while I'm turning around, this transmission and this clutch, not as intuitive as the 86. Not the most challenging unit, but it definitely doesn't have that hop in and feel natural kind of thing. And part of that I find is the revs take a bit to fall into the next gear.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem to like being rushed into the next gear. And you actually drove the automatic, and I have not. Tell me what the automatic is like to drive.
It's a 9-speed automatic, and I actually think it suits the car better, because it just makes the progression that much smoother.
It definitely changes the character of the car. I think with the automatic, it seems like a car you'd be driving. In the stick, it really kind of feels like I'm just holding on to it.
Yeah.
And, you know, especially like for spirited driving on public roads, a racetrack would be different. But on public roads where there's not as much leeway, it's a lot of car.
It's a lot of car.
And in fact, I think we need to give it props for basically being the middle space in between something like the 86 and being, you know, a Corvette or a Porsche 718. But I mean, when you let it go.
Yeah, this is a legitimately fast car.
It's a fast car.
And for the money, it's a great bargain.
Exactly.
What does this start at if you were just to buy a base model?
So basically, this starts at $15,000 more than the 86, which is, you know, makes sense because this is essentially another class of car in terms of performance.
And I think what they did to the interior is a big improvement over the last one. We actually have an adjustable steering column that comes in and out.
The gauges stay where they are.
Yeah.
No, the interior of this car, and I think that's the other thing too, is that this car, in terms of aesthetics, is a triumph. It looks great from the outside. People stare at this car. It gets comments in gas stations. It's a great looking car, and the interior, considering what they were working with, which were ancient, you know, Z hard points.
Right.
The interior is great. I love it.
And I would spec the blue interior because it looks amazing. This is gray. It's pretty dull.
I know. Gray, black on gray is pretty boring, but you can spec a blue interior. I think they have a red.
They do, yeah.
And they have black with yellow stitching if you get the Z Proto package. But overall, I would say if you want basically a sports car that feels like a muscle car, this is it.
Yeah, this car kind of straddles the sports car, the muscle car, and the GT spectrum.
It's kind of
very interesting
all
way.
three.
Yeah.
I will say that horsepower per dollar in the sports car segment is not going to be anywhere better than this.
Horsepower, looks, got it all.
But I think it's time for us to pick a winner.
It's going to be a tough one.
Another hard day in the office. Yeah, I would say on a track, this would be pretty good.
I guess. I don't know. Maybe it is.
I don't know. I feel like
I just don't get the sort of intuitive feeling about this car.
I don't trust it.
No.
I don't trust anything it does.
No.
I don't trust the engine. I don't trust the tires. I don't trust the suspension. I guess I trust the brakes. Other than the brakes
are good.
The brakes are great. Otherwise, I don't trust anything in this car. It feels scary. Okay, so even though you're just seeing today on camera, we've had these cars all week, and we've driven them to work, we've driven them on fun roads, we've driven them in rain and shine. It's time to pick a winner. So let's just set the stage here. You got a beautiful winding country road.
Yeah.
The conditions are good, and no one else is on this road except you.
Right.
Which one of these two cars would you pick for this dream drive scenario? Which one would you rather take through the hills?
I would take this one in a minute because it is such an elemental, fantastic sports car. It's got a great shifter, it's got perfect positioning, it's just the chassis talks to you and you know exactly what's going on. So yeah, this is the one for me.
I would agree because it's just plain fun.
Yeah.
There's a 700-pound difference between these cars and you feel it on those fun roads, and it makes this a more enjoyable car to drive in that sense.
Right.
But let's flip it around. Let's say that you have to delete your current car or
Right.
cars, and you can only pick one of these to be your only car every day. Practicality, everyday usability, which one would you rather have in the driveway?
Let's see now. Maybe 40 years ago. Oh, 40? Am I? No. I might take this one as a daily driver, but I couldn't now because A, it's noisy, it's really bumpy, it's kind of hard to get into, and the stereo absolutely sucks. Whereas this one, it's got comfy seats, it has a reasonably good ride, and of course, it's on a highway, it's just relaxed. You can just cruise along. This thing's buzzing along at 3,200 RPM at 120K, so.
It's true. However, I must concede that for everyday use, the Z is, well, more practical. It's just kind of more car. It's quieter on the highway, it's more relaxed, the springing is softer, it's less of a sacrifice to drive every day. I would say the big caveat to everyday usability is you don't have a real trunk, and whatever cargo you put back there is on grand display for everyone to see.
True, and this one actually has two sort of back seats.
Which are shelves.
Yeah.
Storage space. So practicality, it's a point for the Z.
Yes.
And now we need to talk about the making sense of the dollars and cents. Which one is better value?
Oh boy, well, it's almost $20,000 difference between these two cars. And keeping that in mind, I have to say that this one wins on the sporting and the value.
I would agree because, yeah, like you said, to start base to base, it's a $15,000 difference. Load them up as you see them here, it's an $18,000 difference. And honestly, though this has a nicer stereo, though it has more power, and though it's more relaxed on the highway, I can't excuse $20,000. That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
And I think that working against that disadvantage, I do have to say that for the money, the Toyota is the star.
Absolutely.
And simple math, having won 2 out of 3, would you like a calculator?
How does that work? Oh,
Carry
yeah.
the 2.
I think this one wins, doesn't it?
The winner is the Toyota GR86. This was a super fun comparison to do, and please do suggest more sports cars we should compare in the comments.
For sure. Now, which one do you want to take home?
This one.
You can't.
Ah!
It's mine. For Driving.ca, I'm Peter Blakeney.
And I'm Clayton Seams, and for our full written review on these two cars, don't forget to check it out on Driving.ca.